Doing? Welcome. It is 1 p.m., the best hour of your week. It is tipping points and puzzle pieces. It's time for us to get into another great show. But as you know, well, I'm missing in action a lot now. But I would say the main host, Mark Boatride Frost, coming to you to the center of the ring. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls,
Hey, hey.
how are you
Yeah, I'm
doing?
I'm just burning up over here.
En fuego.
Yeah, Fuego.
Muy caliente.
Exactly so. I'm hotter than a bottle of Tabasco.
Mm. All right. Well, aside from being hotter than a bottle of Tabasco, how are you doing otherwise?
I'm doing really good. I don't. I think you heard that I lost a dog on Monday.
No, I did not.
Yeah, my old lady Brandy was my daughter's 4-H dog for many years. Passed on Monday morning.
Oh, wow.
Um, she hates fireworks. And
Mm.
the pre-fourth show from everybody irresponsibly blowing shit up, I think she just decided it had been enough, and she died. But she died on Monday morning.
Wow. So,
So
like, her heart gave out?
she just laid down and went to sleep and didn't wake up.
Wow. Well, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, so there's some sadness there, but it also spurred that I'm awfully quiet about a lot of stuff that goes on that I should be calling bullshit on. And so today we're going to be talking about the Fourth of July.
Oh, boy.
It's a post fourth discussion looking for solutions and reasons behind it.
Oh, man. All right. Let's go. You make me smile, man. I never know what I'm getting into. And
Well,
my
there's
current status is like, let's go.
so I am not a big fan of the fireworks the way we do them here. And I came from California where fireworks are greatly restricted.
Hmm.
And you can't go buy 4-inch mortars at the tribe and such. But there's a lot of things I want to talk about here, and a lot of it has to do with our misconceptions because I've been watching people on Facebook post. I posted a eulogy on Brandy, and I said basically she decided not to go through this year's insanity.
Mm.
And you post things, and somebody comes back with, "Darn tribes, they sell so many fireworks," and I'm like, how is it we go right there to the tribes sell so many fireworks when you have fireworks stands in every parking lot raising money for whatever thing going on? And basically, organizations become retailers for the fireworks industry all over the country. And you're blaming the tribes. Now, they may not be buying the biggest boomers around locally, but you can buy them everywhere. We have friends and people we know who had fireworks stands to raise money for their organizations. Now, I am not dissing them and saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying we shouldn't be pointing fingers at one group when there's a widespread retail organized by nonprofits to make money because there's so few ways to make money. Fair statement?
Yeah, there are a few ways to make money for sure. I didn't know that's what a lot of companies did. Like, many of the stands were nonprofits. I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, there's a lot of nonprofits. There's a lot of schools.
Really?
Some
Schools?
churches are out there selling.
Really?
This is and I don't know how much they make, but they're paying back the company for the fireworks they sell, and they're doing the shipping and they're providing the labor. But I'm guessing they make a small fraction of what is being sold,
Wow.
which
Now I
which
had
is
no
how all
idea.
of those schemes for fundraising work. Um, so you look at that and it's just like, why are we pointing the finger at one person, and why don't we ask the next question? And this brings up, if you can bring up the page, I want to talk about what we posted here so that we can start the discussion with some foundation.
Sure. I would just push back a little bit and say, I wouldn't say schemes. I know you said that kind of tongue in cheek. But, a lot of these agencies uh, don't have a lot of ways to raise funds
Nope.
to do the work that,
Acknowledged.
quite frankly, our government should be doing.
or funding better. Yeah,
you know,
or funding better, making the funds accessible to people who are not mega nonprofits
well,
who
it's not
have
even mega. We're
lawyers.
talking about micro. I mean, think about, like, I've sold Krispy Kreme donuts, right?
Mhm.
Think of the mindset that you have to be in to say, hey, you know what? I want to give a ride to someone to a methadone clinic or to a specialist or to a mental health appointment. And in order for me to do that or feed someone who's hungry, I've got to sell Krispy Kreme donuts to do that, right? Just to get the funding for it.
When I was in high school, we sold donuts every single day to pay for the lights on the pool for the team who won more championships than any other team in our school. We got zero funding. We sold donuts, we sold Fuller brushes, we sold all kinds of things to get funding to pay for the basics that the school should have been covering.
Wait, what kind of brushes did you sell?
These are from ancient times. Fuller brushes are like selling door to door. You would go and knock on doors all through the neighborhoods and sell brushes and trash cans and stuff to people door to door to raise money.
We sold toilet brushes. I'm like, wow. I stand corrected. Selling Krispy Kremes is not a heavy list. You selling toilet brushes? That takes the cake. Sorry,
So,
I misheard.
the point is that I've been doing numbers on this for a very, very long time. And for all of the stuff you sell, it's always the corporation who makes the greater amount, and then pittance goes down to the nonprofits who are doing all of the work. And that was really my point. It's not that again, nonprofits have very few funding sources. If you look at government grants, you know that the people that they're going to go to are the well-established super nonprofits that have lobbyists and lawyers and existing relationships. They don't go to people like Resilient Ecosystems and gather together, grow together, because we don't have the resources to become embedded in the system, and nor do we have the time to go through the hoops that are required to get a government grant.
Well, not the tens of millions, right? We're not quite there yet.
Yeah, but I mean, even a $500,000 grant, which would change your life and change my life and change the lives of the people we serve for 2 or 3 years, and even those you have to jump through a whole bunch of hoops to get to.
I don't know about changing our lives for a year and a half. Our operating budget was very close to that. But I digress. Let's get into what's next.
Okay, so I can move that. Okay, so I am moving this. All right. So I just wanted to start with the note at the the comment I put in the bottom to kind of broke it down. The 4th of July is a big day for consumer spending. This year, Americans are expected to spend $9.5 billion on food alone. And in 2022, we spent $2.3 billion on fireworks.
Wow.
So let's just take a beat for a second and look at those numbers. And think about, and again, I will now tell you why there's a flame behind me. That's money burning. Those are $100 bills floating around at the bottom of that funding the fire. We literally burned up $2.3 million, billion with a B, dollars in 2022. Imagine if we took 1 year, just 1 year, and took that money and put it toward feeding homeless people and sheltering homeless people.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
What can we do with like almost $12 billion?
Yeah. Layla. Yeah. Come here, sweetie. Quite a bit. I know what I would do quite a bit. Layla, come over here really quick. So we were sitting here. Everyone say hi to Layla.
Hey, Layla.
We were watching the fireworks show last night from New York, and it was what, 20?
It was about 30 minutes long.
30 minutes long.
Of continuous fireworks.
Continuous fireworks. It wasn't just one stream. It was three streams of the same fireworks. Mm-hmm. And we were just sitting there like, I don't think it's ever going to end. That has to be the biggest fireworks show I've ever seen. Kendra says hi. All right. Thank you, sweetie.
Okay. So,
but it goes to your point, right? Like I'm watching part of that $2.3 billion last night. Layla and I, like, good Lord, this is an obscene amount of fireworks. And this is one city.
Yeah. And back when I was doing live fireworks show, small live fireworks shows, they were $50,000.
I'm sure that wasn't $50,000.
No. So The fireworks industry has been growing over the last few decades by major percentage points. Just as kind of a note, and the numbers you see are just the latest. Okay, so for Independence
Wow.
Day, the U.S. fireworks depends on China, and we're not talking about just fireworks. Most of the flags, most of the paper plates, most of the napkins, most of the decorations are all manufactured in China,
Our
along with the
American flags
vast.
are made in China.
Oh God, yes. Those people driving around with the shredded flags on their car that don't understand the respect of a flag, those are all bought from China.
Mm.
So there's an irony. I think I in the comment up here I said, "Oh, the irony! Our independence celebrations depend on China." Shake my head. We celebrate our independence by supporting the Chinese economy. Now, I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm just
Mhm.
saying that's reality. And while people are pointing at the tribes as opposed to all the other people trying to raise money from selling fireworks, in the end, we're supporting the Chinese economy.
Well, can I say also, I think we really stand on the tenet of we the people,
Mm-hmm.
and if we took accountability and took the power that we had and said, yeah, you know what, we the people, it wouldn't matter who you thought was the reason why the fireworks were being sold, right? We
Right.
wouldn't purchase them
Right.
because we say no. What's important is we the people say everyone should be housed, everyone should have a full belly, right? Those are the things that we the people could actually make that change instead of saying, well, this organization or this entity is selling them, and if they just didn't do that, we wouldn't have this problem.
So I saw a post yesterday from Sonoma County saying, "Why are there so many more fireworks this time? We banned them consumer fireworks in this county." And the fact is, they're driving over here, buying fireworks and taking them back and blowing them up. That's what they're doing. It's like the prohibition; they're seen in the same way. But wait, there's more. Okay, heavy metals such as copper and other elements are used in fireworks to create the many colors. We observe these chemicals in concentrations above certain levels, uh, called are to add to the water quality and are killing the aquatic life. Where do we fire a lot of our fireworks off in Kitsap County? Over the
Like off
water.
docks and barges, things like that.
Yeah. So heavy metals going into the sound, killing off the fish. Heavy metals going into the surface water. So let's go back to the tribal discussion for just a second. The tribe is all about salmon and surface water fish. Fireworks are harming that environment, that ecosystem.
So
So,
then, isn't that kind of the snake eating its tail in that regard?
very much so. This is where we don't think. We don't go to the next step. We don't think through our whole thing. And people who think that the tribes are all a unified front and are, environmentalists and everything else, they have the philosophy of that, but they're people just like everybody else's people. And they do the things that other people that all the other people do. They change based on their need at the moment. And I posted a post the other day, and I said, somebody was blaming the tribes, and I came back and said, so continuity requires, continuity cannot be done in a group. It can only be done by individuals working together. And you
Mm.
can't say the tribes have continuity in all of their thoughts. In fact, we taught the tribes that money is power and power is survival. And they came back at us by making money based on our vices. There's an irony there that's just not, they can't be ignored. So I don't blame anybody for this. This is an accepted piece. I've been watching people buy thousands of dollars of fireworks and blowing them up every year that I've been here. And the first 2 or 3 years I was going, that's kind of cool. And then the fourth year, I just couldn't handle it anymore. I couldn't handle the constant explosions, the war zone for 8 straight hours, 4 days before and 3 days after. And my dogs don't like it very much. I play a lot of loud music. But here's the other thing is it creates air pollution. It affects how we breathe. It changes the temperatures. Matter of fact, from yesterday to today, projected temperatures for the next week have changed. They've gone up 2 to 3 degrees.
Mm.
So this is us changing the climate in real time.
So, let me ask you, because the other side of it is like, I'm getting older, and my brother has terrified me with fireworks, so I don't like them. Right, as a young teenager, he made sure that I was going to be terrified of fireworks. I do like how they look. It's fun to look
Yeah.
at them. I don't really care for the boom and all that or whatnot, but that is kind of an American pastime, if you will. That's something where families can engage in. The kids can light them off and have the sparklers and everything else. And so what do you say to that? Because for a lot of folks, that's like,
we're actually going to get there. I'm kind of laying a foundation for a discussion, so I'm just going to go through the information,
sure.
and then we can start talking about that. And you notice that I haven't been saying these are evil, we're wrong, we're bad. I'm not preaching. I'm just providing data. Okay. So fireworks and your pets. We have seen personally, Terry, Diane, all of our friends have seen how fireworks affect the pets. My dog decided not to go through another year of this as it started the 4 days before sporadic fireworks. She just decided to let go. She was old, so she was going to go anyhow, but the timing was not missed on us. We have a small Chihuahua who hates the fireworks. And Fred, my dog, who has been pretty much immune to them for a while, is now shaking and not liking them very much. So we played a lot of loud music last night up until about 11 o'clock. And the dog slept and we all got to relax a little bit. But it also causes me to get jumpy, and and both Terry and I tend to get angry with the constant explosions. So there are obvious reactions among the animals. But what we don't talk about, and almost no one talks about, is their eagles leave their nest and abandon their eggs to go on when fireworks start happening. Squirrels, insects, everything is affected by that constant banging of the air pressure, and it changes their behavior over periods of time. And I've seen horses run in terror of them. They are not good. They don't know what's going on. They just have the loud bangs, the air pressure changes, the smell of fire in the air. It affects all animals, and it affects us, but we tend to ignore it because we're humans and we're the highest life form, right? University of Irvine study said that, and I left the link here so you can go read the study. Basically, that rural communities who don't do as many fireworks have less particulate matter in the air. That's pretty much no brainer. But it seems to affect Hispanic and other brown skin communities more than it does than Caucasian communities.
Why?
I didn't read the whole article, but I'm going to dive into it after this. There are several studies that I didn't get a chance to go through before doing the show, but I'm going to go back and deal with it.
My quick assumption is you may read that many of the fireworks that are let off during this time frame is in a tighter capacity.
Yeah.
So in a more affluent neighborhood, there's more square foot per house and acreage per yard. So, some of the air is going to dissipate. And we drove down to Evergreen Park, and it was fireworks. So we decided to watch them from the porch at some point, just because, again, the smell and asthma, and it does have an effect there.
Yep. And then, there's these wacky guys who are going to do this podcast talking about it. So I just thought I'd point that out. And then there's a philosophical question I wanted to pose for the day. I said, why do we celebrate the war and not our mighty accomplishments 247 years after our independence? Maybe it's time to rethink that.
Why do we celebrate the war and not our mighty accomplishments 247 years? My answer to that question is the military industrial complex.
That would be my answer too. I don't have any statistics, and it's hard to find things to point at them. But there's all this talk about China and being a near peer, and all of this data going back and forth, and people make the whole COVID China thing and everything else, and yet here we are happily handing them our money so that we can celebrate the U.S. independence.
It is interesting. I will say that.
Okay, so here's a note. I don't know if people can see it or you can enlarge it or more. But yesterday, the air quality rating in Kitsap County, even after 4 days of some fireworks going off, was around 18. This morning, it's 110. You see all that orange? That's poor air quality. If you have asthma, don't go outside.
Not to mention the fires from Canada. I mean, luckily we're not being hit with that the way the East Coast has been getting hammered.
Yeah. So and we get it too. And if we get the fires now, we're going to be hurting very badly. Thank you. I'll do that next time. And then finally, I didn't look up the fire injury and damage statistics, so I'm very interested in those. I just didn't have time to really dig through all of the sponsored links so I could find real data. But I always think of the 4th of July as a hold my beer and watch this day.
New Year's also, right? This happens twice a year.
Yeah, and so I had a friend post something, and I don't usually pay much attention to memes on Facebook, but this one was funny. It says, we're watching people blow off thousands of dollars of fireworks, and these are the people we wouldn't trust with a glow stick.
Well, there's facts there. That's for sure. Yeah, that's interesting, actually. That's interesting comment.
Yeah, so there's a group on Facebook called, I think it's Boom Power or something like that. And they're out of Manchester. There's 341 people on the page. And they say, talk about what ideas we have to mitigate the fireworks because they're out of control. And they've been out of control for a long time. And I posted this on their page and said that, we will talk about the facts of it and we will talk about ideas behind it. But I wanted to lay that out before we actually got into the discussion, even though we burned a half an hour on it, because I wanted to kind of lay out all of the reasons that fireworks are a challenging topic.
And it's definitely challenging. I mean, this comes up in city council every year. You have folks that definitely show up and make public comment on both sides. This is a very an issue that stokes emotion, some very visceral emotion in folks on both sides of the conversation, for sure.
And one of the reasons I don't attack it is I know that this is an ingrained behavior in American people. I also will say that I think it's a thoughtless behavior in American people, but that's nothing new. We see that all the time in all kinds of ways. But this one is causing damage too. So having some ideas to mitigate some of the damage, that might not be a bad thing to talk about.
Yeah, I think talking about the damage is important. I think probably a lot of folks that are for, the fireworks and not changing and maybe being a little bit more freer is really that expression of freedom, right? Like I get to buy whatever I want. I get to light it off. And I don't think I've ever told this story.
As a firecracker just went off outside my window.
I don't think I've ever told this story, but this is like 15 years ago now when I lived over in Illahee. Well, every year they would blow my mailbox up because my mailbox was, on a row of mailboxes and mine was on the end. So of course the M80 goes into my mailbox, and sometimes the neighbor would set it in pieces on my porch. And sometimes, well, they just put it in the garbage for me. Just is what it is. Rob says, not a fan of the personal fireworks. It was a war zone with the noise and smoke at my house last night, and you could see the low air quality this morning on our way in. Yeah, absolutely. I was telling Layla, I'm like, I can barely see the mountains today, and it's supposed to be a great, clear, Wednesday morning.
but the air quality issue is predictable. It's this way every year after the 4th. So yeah, this is the question here, and I guess I can unshare the screen now because we've seen all of that stuff.
Sure.
We'll go back to
So,
us talking.
wow, man. So, what's the solution to that? Because folks want to be able to do that activity, right?
Well, how about zoning? Fireworks can be fired off in certain places, and people will have to get in their car and go drive there and consolidate where it's going to be based on safety for dry grass and such like that. Um, uh, so you minimize the air quality effect. You stay away from water where wildlife and aquatic life comes. I mean, I don't know. I'm spitballing here. I'm not saying this.
I'm
is
hearing you. I'm
true.
just like, well, that would definitely cause a lot of equitable issues, especially in this county, right? With no bus service in the evening. How are they supposed to get to this place to do their fireworks, especially if they don't have a
Right.
vehicle?
Yeah, no, there's well, maybe Kitsap Transit can offer the transit vans to take people to do a park and ride thing.
Mm.
People can do reservations in advance, and then Kitsap Transit can come in and take them where they need to be, and guarantee that they're going to bring them home.
It's almost like a bridge blast, but where folks are actually lighting off their own fireworks.
Right.
Okay, that's interesting.
And I say I'm just spitballing here.
No, that's why I have no critique on it. Like I said,
Yeah.
it's interesting. You need ideas, right? This is the spitballing. Let's see what sticks to the wall.
So my personal need is to have them not be in my neighborhood. That I can go to bed at 9 or 10 o'clock at night and not have to listen to things blowing up until 2 a.m. And while last night wasn't bad, I have heard fireworks in a continuous explosion until from 10 in the morning till 2 in the morning the next morning.
And I think the challenge is even with an ordinance that says no fireworks after a certain amount of time, how do you enforce it? Because we don't have enough law enforcement to go around and find that person that did it.
2 days ago, we had people yelling in our parking lot behind us and blowing off fireworks. And Terry called the police saying, "Can you tell these?" And the police sent her right into voicemail or saying, "Is this fireworks?" And then sent her to a voicemail, which is a dumping zone for all the fireworks complaints that nobody's ever going to look at. And then she called back and said there are people yelling loudly in the background, and they sent a patrol car over.
Mm-hmm.
So there isn't enough law enforcement, and I think this goes back to what Resilient Ecosystems does and what the Kitsap Resiliency Project is about. There's a growing portion of the population who doesn't want to have to be in a war zone one day a year, or as the reality is 6-7 days a year.
Well, it's twice, right? Because again, New Year's.
Yeah, and twice again. So there's a growing segment of the populace who does not want to participate in that, but we're forced to participate in it because there's nowhere for us to go. Crystal Crystal Connolly from our board won't be at the board meeting because she took her animals and drove to Oregon, to the Oregon hills, to get the hell away from the fireworks. So I could have gotten in the car and driven to the coast and stayed out on the coast, but that wouldn't have gotten me away from the fireworks. They'd have blown them up on the beaches.
So is that something? I don't know. I don't know what the medium is there.
Yeah, just saying these are the issues. There's people that cannot leave. Even if they leave and go someplace else, unless they go way far away, there's no way to get away from the fireworks. So we have,
and there's no guarantee that it's going to stay in the time frame and the date frame.
Right. And there's no guarantee, and it's proven that that would be ignored anyhow. I mean, we've seen that too many times to know that. So we have a conundrum where people want to exercise their rights for their independence by supporting the Chinese economy and blowing up fireworks whenever they want. And there's people who just want to ignore it. I would like to propose that we start educating and reaching out with the concept of celebrating the 4th differently. I don't think that we shouldn't celebrate the 4th. But I think that should start thinking about celebrating it differently. And a lot of times, people are thoughtless, literally thoughtless, about what they're doing and how it affects other things. And no one's in their face about it. No one's educating them. There's no discussions going on about it. There's a Facebook group that are going on about people wanting to end it, but there's no real push to change it. And isn't that what we do with the Kids Up Resiliency Project? Is talk about the ways that things need to change. And this is not our number one priority. I mean, food, water, shelter, and everything else. But on the other hand, if we had $12 billion to put toward food, water, and shelter, that would make a huge step forward into security for everybody.
Well,
Not saying, and I don't know.
Over 10
Yeah.
years. It's like, that's quite a bit of money. Well, what's your thoughts on the drone fireworks? I mean,
I
they're
haven't
pretty
heard anything
impressive.
about it.
Oh, you haven't seen drone fireworks?
No.
Oh my goodness. Think of huge firework displays that you've seen, where they're making shapes and things like that. But now they can do intricate designs of George Washington standing on the boat with his knee up in 3D with all these drones in multiple colors. Impressive.
Do they blow the drones up?
No, because it's just the drones are just they have lights on them and they're run off a computer program and they go in the air and they just light up and it just think about.
Oh, it's like synchronized droning.
Yeah.
Without the
You've never
explosions,
seen
I
that?
think no, I haven't. But without the explosions, I think that's a brilliant thing.
Only thing that terrifies me is weaponizing something like that. It's like
Well,
if they can synchronize it to that level, whoo.
Well, yeah, I mean, and think about all of the sonic and light flashing deterrent capabilities that the police departments already have. Now you add drones that can fly in synchronized form around a group and flash them with lights brightly and maybe pump loud noise at them.
Yeah, I'm just gonna pull.
Yeah, that's a
some
little
up here.
frightening.
Yeah, just so you could see.
That's very RoboCop-ish.
Oh man, it's impressive, but it's a little.
Okay, here we go.
There, can you see that?
Yeah, so those are just drones flying.
Those are just drones.
Oh, cool. And so, that minimizes air pollution. That minimizes the noise factor. I'm good with that.
Let me find
But
them.
again, it isn't going to be your neighbors coming out and doing synchronized droning.
Fair use here. Just kind of want to get to the show here. There we go. Look at that.
Well, yeah. Wow. See, that makes absolute sense to me. Reduces air pollution, reduces the issues with animals, reduces the overall trash and the noise pollution. But again, this isn't going to be your neighbors going out and doing a synchronized drone show.
No. So, I mean, it's impressive, but isn't that really weird? Rob says, isn't weaponizing the military use the first step to any new technology? Well, that's fact.
Not always, because the space program brought forward a whole lot of technologies. And while they eventually weaponized satellites and stuff, the Apollo program brought us, wonderful things like space food sticks. But actually, it brought us freeze drying. It brought us all kinds of cool stuff.
I mean, look at that.
Yeah.
That's impressive, man. I'm surprised you've never seen that.
No, but things to do with the 4th of July and fireworks shows, I try and stay completely away from. And again, I don't like it, but I don't want to say that you can't have it because I don't like it. What I want to do is have a discussion to find if we can find some middle ground where both sides are happy. And that's, consensus. That's consensus process, which is what we teach in the workshops, is how to engage, listen to each other's needs, and work out a solution that works for both of you. It may not be 100% of what each of you want, but it might be 60, 70%, which will do fine.
kind of reminds me of the argument against electronic muscle car, right? You've got the torque and it goes super fast, but there's no roar of the engine. So you got
Mhm.
these great fireworks here, but you have no booms and explosions. So it's almost like, as beautiful as it is, there's something missing. They might even be superior to regular fireworks in regards to what they can do, because you're seeing a 2D image, but they're literally 3D. So it doesn't matter where you're at, you're
Well,
seeing this image.
well, in another couple of years, they're going to have a program on Amazon. They're going to send you a package of like 12, 14 drones and a disk for your computer or a hard drive for your computer to control it all. And suddenly you're going to be doing radio frequency, shows for your neighbors. And,
Wow.
99, 9 to 5, and we'll ship it to your door.
Well, like I said, I'm a little worried with these applications, especially when we look at what's happening in Ukraine and some
Yep.
other war torn, battlefields right now, and the continued improvement use of drone technology, and what that looks like. How are we safe as those things get weaponized? So this is particularly scary to me.
So one of the things that I think of frequently, and again, I am not in any way, shape, or form selling an idea here, but we celebrate violence. We celebrate war. We embrace competition even when it doesn't need to happen. We do not embrace collaboration or cooperation. And we have mass shooting after mass shooting after mass shooting. As a matter of fact, I emailed a friend of mine on Monday, was it? It might have been Sunday, um, who lives in Delaware or Baltimore, lives in Baltimore, where they had a mass shooting where 20 people had been shot, 2 killed. And it was the 355th mass shooting in the U.S. this year.
Mm.
And she
What
was all right.
happened?
She was all right. 355th mass shooting, and 20 were shot, 2 were killed. It was a block party in Delaware, and at the last I heard, the shooter was still at large.
Wow. Well, I'm definitely not surprised that that's one of the things I'm very frustrated with. So,
Yeah, if we continue to sell violence as a solution, this is what we get. And I'm not saying that it's computer games' fault or it's the television's fault. It's everything we do is surrounded by violence or fear of violence being done to us. And the 4th of July, we celebrate war. We don't celebrate the wonderful accomplishments we've done. We don't celebrate the massive things we have accomplished in 247 years. We celebrate the rockets Red Blair and the starting point. And I kind of think of it like school. You get your degree, and that's your starting point. You go on from there and celebrate your accomplishments throughout your life. If you're still celebrating your degree when you're in your 60s, you did it wrong.
but is that who we are at our core? I mean, we can
Is
say
it?
what we think we are, but where do we put our money, right? If we again that military industrial complex. I was watching a YouTube show earlier today, and it was stacking all of the China and Russia and other um, big countries, and it was like we dwarf what they spend on their military, right?
I wish we could play that intro to the newsroom on HBO, where the Jeff Daniels as Will McAvoy is pushed into giving an answer about why is America the greatest country on earth, and his liberal counterpart on the panel said, "Freedom," or no, I can't even remember what she said because it was irrelevant. And the other guy said, "Freedom and freedom," and the guy pushed him, the host pushed him for an actual real answer. He says, "We're not the greatest country in the world." And he went on to lay out the statistics, and I validated every statistic he put out. And it's true. And it's just like, and the 3 things we lead the world in is incarcerated people per capita, people who believe that angels are real, and defense spending where we outspend the next 26. We outspend everybody, and 26 of the next in line are our allies.
I'm not getting that seemed really random. The people that
It builds through a whole bunch of things, and it kind of like you have to watch the whole thing. It's 5 minutes. It's worth watching, and at the end of it, you're going, "Holy shit, man!"
You know what I think the big problem is though, Mark, is in this country we can't be intellectually honest, right? So you can feel like, hey,
he says that in that clip, by the way.
Oh, really? So you can be patriotic, right? Hey, I love America. It's all great. I love Washington State. I love my team. Yada, yada, yada. While at the same time saying, hey, there are things that are wrong that we need to improve because I love my country, right?
Yep.
I want to fix these things, and I'm going to point out the things that are wrong because that's important to me. But we can't have that conversation, and we can't be honest about it. So it's like, hey, we just have to love the thing
because we're being sold an idea of what patriotism is. So I will put my foot down on one thing. The whole driving around with your flag flying off your car makes me stark raving crazy. I just bite my lip and don't say anything. I was a Boy Scout, okay? I learned to respect the flag as a Boy Scout at 12 and 13 years old. I learned how to fold it. I learned how to care for it. I learned when it should be flown, when it shouldn't be flown, what the conditions are. And I sure as shit wouldn't put it on my car and watch it get shredded as I drive around and call myself patriotic. Because if you're going to use that as a symbol of your patriotism, learn how to care for it. Learn how to respect it. When you fly it at night, put a light on it. That's the way it's supposed to be. When you take it down appropriately, fold it appropriately, put it away appropriately. If you have something you respect, that's how you do it. Flying a flag doesn't say shit to me about your patriotism. It shows me that you actually don't care.
Oh, that seems weird to me, and that comes from someone who really doesn't care either way, right?
Yeah.
I was never a Boy Scout. I don't care if you fly your flag or not. I don't have one, and just because that's not something that I value in that way. Not that I hate the flag or anything. So it's like, what is the measure of patriotism, and who gets to decide that, right?
Well, and the measure of patriotism is basically like your measure of Christianity, following the teachings of Christ, following the honor of our country. And it sure as shit isn't stocking up guns and flying a flag and taking care of yourself amongst everybody else. It's about taking care of all of us and making things better. That's a patriot. I mean, by my standard, you and I are patriotic because we do work to help other people.
Okay.
We work hard to make our country better, but I don't consider myself a patriot because I run around with a ragged flag hanging off the side of my car that was purchased from China.
Tell me how you really feel without telling me how you really feel.
I think that we spend far too much time in this country worrying about what it looks like and not about what it is.
Absolutely, that is true. And then we get hung up on, who defines what something is, right? Although we do have to have cultural norms and mores and things of that nature, and we don't even agree on that now, right? Which is a huge issue.
Because we are being othered every day.
But that is the founding of this country, right? It was founded on othering.
I don't know if that's an accurate statement or not. I think it was founded on othering at the time because that's what was the accepted norm.
That's what it was.
But there's also the amendment process of the Constitution, which allows us to change it and update it as we change. The fact that we're not using it doesn't mean it's not there and it's not a valid tool for updating it and making it less so.
From a Black person, your statement is invalid to me. Right, saying that the country wasn't founded on othering.
Okay.
And then we still have in our Constitution, right? Even in the amendment, if you're in jail or prison, you're still a slave.
No disagreement from me at all. I'm saying that we are not properly using the amendment process of the Constitution to change that issue. I'm not saying that there weren't slave owners, and I don't think that the founding fathers were, walked on water, and slept on gold. I
Right.
think
Well, what
that
was the history of the country, right? How was the country formed? How did America get to be?
by fighting the British and declaring our freedom
And
247 years ago.
who were the people to the British? How were the people that were fighting
You're talking
against the
about us-
British classified?
terrorists.
Terrorists, criminals, things like that,
Yeah.
right? It's
Yeah.
all perspective. So
It
in
is
that regard,
absolutely.
that's how the country was founded, right? So I think it was founded on there's definitely, it's very problematic, right?
I'm
Yeah.
not arguing. You understand? I'm not arguing with you at all.
No, I know.
But I'm
we have
providing
an opportunity to do better.
historical context.
This is what we have, so we could do better. We just have not been choosing to do better in the short life of this democracy.
And
And it
for
seems
that,
like
we need
backwards.
to work to come together. That's why Resilient Ecosystems does the work we do. To a great degree, that's why you do the work you do, is helping educate people and bring them together. And it's like last week when we talked about, I feel that I don't have to address this particular issue because you are addressing it,
Mhm.
and you're addressing it well. So I'm going to continue to focus on the long-term changing thinking and coming together issue that no one is paying attention to.
By the way, not my circus came up in my own life like 3 times last week since the podcast. So thanks for that. It was pretty cool. Yeah, it gave me a chuckle, and I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, pretty cool." I like it.
We had like twice the viewers than we usually have.
I noticed that too. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was kind of like looking at that, going, "Oh, okay."
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how many this one's going to get, but that's okay. It's the fact is we have these conversations every week. We are building a stockpile of modeling the behavior of people coming together from very different backgrounds, having a discourse and coming to consensus on ways to move forward, or agreeing to disagree when we can.
Well, and I think the discourse is important without being nasty about it, right?
Yep.
I can disagree with you or not be nasty about it, or disrespect you, or vice versa, right? Or just say,
Absolutely.
you're just so dead wrong. I can't believe you piece of, we're not going to get anywhere that way. We're just not. We haven't. And so that's the definition of insanity. We can continue to do the same thing over and over again, and we're doubling and tripling down on it now, which is why you have the fire behind you, right? So we need to put the damn fire out, and then say, okay, as you said, what are some things that we can come together on? I think we do need to address some of the original sins of this country, but there are a lot of things that we need to deal with simultaneously. And when you start looking at, $2.8 billion in fireworks, right? Even if we do some withdrawal there, like, hey, we're going to do over the next decade, we're going to decrease our fireworks spending by 5% or 10% and switch into, drone technology for fireworks shows and whatnot, and educate the community on, hey, it's more environmentally friendly, it's more friendly to your pets, it's, and just make the list while you're doing that. And, oh, hey, this money is going to be reinvested into Americans, whether it's housing or mental health or physical health or food or water for all or energy for all, and those things. I think that goes a long way to, putting us on the direction that we want to be, where we can be super proud of our country, and it's not a performative action. You're smiling quite a bit there.
Yeah, isn't that patriotic?
Yeah, I think so.
So yeah, we roll up our sleeves, we do the work, we do need to go. So how do we get that happen? Oh, that's right. I teach this. It's called grassroots organization and continuity, where people come together, create a list of things that need to change, agree on the prioritization through consensus, and everybody rolls up their sleeves and works on it, knowing that the list will never end and that the work is always going to be there. And you do what you can do as you can do it.
Yeah.
That got you thinking.
Well, I mean, it's like you said. This is the work that we're doing.
Mm-hmm. And by the way, that flame, as I said, is all burning up $2.3 billion in money. Because
That's
literally, you're buying this to burn it up.
a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money. And I was thinking about that. It's like, okay, if there's like $150,000-$200,000 of fireworks in each one of those stands, and like you said, there's one every block or every other block, and there's 50 in the city. It's like, holy crap, that is so much money. Wow.
So, and I have a feeling we're going to take some heat for this, but
That's all right. We're built for it.
Yeah, for this discussion. But yeah, it's the way we think about things. And do I have an answer? Well, I threw out the idea that we could zone it so we can minimize some of the impacts of it, understanding what's going on, and maybe we can bring that to the city council in Bremerton and say, hey, instead of eliminating fireworks, can we zone it so that we can take it certain places and let people go blow their fireworks off?
I think that's been part of the conversation. I haven't been following it that closely,
Okay.
just because that's not my big hot button issue to kind of weigh in on. And I'm definitely in the middle, right, on that. It's like, I get that this is, like they say, as American as apple pie. I get that super important to Americans, and parents passing it on to their kids, and it's a fun time. I get that. And on the other side, I get all the reasons that you talk about, and the fact that I've never liked fireworks. So it's not something important to me. So I haven't to light off. I like watching them. It's fine. But if they weren't there, it wouldn't bother me if there were no fireworks on the 4th of July or big fireworks shows, right? It's just
I'd rather just get together with my friends and have a giant barbecue. But right now I wouldn't do that because the pollution of the barbecue added to the pollution of the fireworks, all of the noise, all the explosions, all of the everything. Yeah, that doesn't work for me.
Did you say the pollution of the barbecue? Now we can't even put some meat or veggies on the grill?
I'm talking about escalation. If you've already got the fireworks going off, you start lighting off thousands and thousands of barbecues, you have a larger problem.
I hear what you're saying, man, but I think that's when sometimes
I like an either or. let's do the barbecues, but not do the fireworks.
Oh man. Yeah, you're right. You're definitely gonna get some hate for this one. It's like, hey, you got the fireworks and the barbecue grill. Yeah, we just need to cut that off. Don't turn your grill off.
Well, then you look at your kids and think about what's their future like when the air isn't breathable. Now, I've said this before, but I'm going to make this point now. I grew up in San Bernardino, California, from 1957 to 1966. That was pre-Clean Air Act.
Mm-hmm.
San Bernardino Mountains and San Bernardino Valley were called the Valley of the Smoke. It's because all of the prevailing winds from the coast would blow the smoke up against the mountains where it would stay. So I was out trying to play Little League baseball, and it was 110 degrees, and you couldn't see across the street because of the smog. I spent a lot of my youth not being able to breathe. So if we continue down this path and we keep taking away air regulations and we keep defunding the EPA and we keep, letting corporations do whatever the hell they want to do, where are we going to be in 50 years for Layla and Kira and the other kids?
Well, and I think for me, I think government and the wealthy should be the first to do that. And I mean wealthy, not
open your pocketbook and start paying for the cleanup.
Well, here's the thing: you still have folks that are flying constantly. Sometimes multiple times a day, multiple times a week. To go to meetings and whatnot. And it's like, how much pollution you're putting in the air by doing that, but then you're fighting for environmental friendly processes that everyone else has to adhere to because you need to get to your meeting in DC tomorrow. or you need to be down in Texas tomorrow when you can use Zoom. You've got the technology, right?
Yeah. And when I travel, I prefer train. Like obviously, you can't take a train across the country, but there are several people floating the idea of blimps coming back, where we could travel across the country in lighter than aircraft
But again, okay, that's fine. We can entertain that. But
with
COVID,
electric motors and stuff. Yeah, I mean,
there were silver linings in COVID, right? The technology of Zoom has come a long way.
yep.
How we can do breakout rooms and things like that, and then come together. Work production has increased. There's been a lot of organizations that said, "Hey, you know what? We're gonna save money because we're not going to worry about our brick and mortar anymore, right?" So because that's a huge expense for organizations, and so for me, our government needs to say, "Hey, you know what? We're going to lead the way in that." Because they're some of the biggest offenders in the things that hurt our environment.
So here's a question for you.
Sure.
Okay, so I constantly hear this. We have a housing shortage. We have a housing shortage. We need to have a million new homes. On the other hand, I'm hearing about the ongoing and accelerating housing crash, market crash. We're being told that we need a million homes here to cover this, and we have these corporations leaving brick and mortar buildings to do at home, which makes a lot of sense, and I think that's great. Why aren't we looking at how that can be converted into housing?
So the answer that I've been given on this, because this is a huge issue in New York and some other cities, New York really is
Probably Seattle too.
Is to the regulations that are in place now to create a livable dwelling is so cost prohibitive that most folks aren't doing it. Now some are. Some cities are engaging in it on small scales, but by and large they're not. And I think a lot of them are hoping, right? We see it with the old Sizzler and some of the older buildings where the owners can just line item that depreciation every year, and it's better for them to keep it vacant than it is to do something with it, right? So claim eminent domain, go ahead and do the investment in it, get folks in there, maybe change the laws, right? We had the house that I was living in before I moved here was a 5-bedroom, three full bath, right? Well, we had to list it as a 4-bedroom, 3 full bath because one room didn't have a closet. So it's things like that, right? Oh, so there's not a closet in there. So if you build a closet, then it's a bedroom. So it's things like that, spirit and letter of the law that you could do. So I think we get in our own way with that.
Yeah. So I think there may be a larger discussion. Again, if you have a grassroots network of several thousand people, you can make a lot of things happen. The discussion elevates from, oh, this is why we don't do that, which is essentially kind of a blow off, to let's figure out how we're going to do it, which is a different discussion.
Especially when the alternative to where humans are living is far worse than them being in a building that doesn't have a sprinkler system or doesn't have a closet or doesn't have whatever's missing, right? The alternative is far better than their current conditions of even being in a shelter on a mat this thick, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you have a better life in jail or in prison.
Which is a whole different discussion than we may be having in the near future.
Yeah. No, I say that at 2:01, right?
Yeah. All right. So we are at our time. I think it was a very fruitful discussion. I don't know if we came up with any answers, but we certainly asked a lot of good questions.
Yeah, for sure. So I would love, as the final word, is for folks to engage in the resiliency page on Facebook. Also go to the website. But that's where the solutions are going to come from we the people. We need the dialogue. It's not a conversation of two. It's a conversation of the many. That is where the win is. That's where the solution is. And that's where we're going to see real change, and not sustainable change, but resilient change.
Yep. And one other note, because I just put this up the other day, like, comment, share. If nothing else, it takes you nothing to hit the like button. But without those, the algorithm doesn't see our stuff. It doesn't get out to people. People don't get to see it. And we do a lot of work that never gets seen. And the whole point of bringing people together is for them to see it. So please like, comment, share.
100%. And you know what you might do as a favor to Prosecco or the Conduit or even some of your favorite shows, have a cup of coffee, just go through their website or their YouTube channel and just
Yep.
because it will trigger it in the algorithm and push it in front of more people.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, folks. And we will be back next week with a different topic, probably equally hot.
Well, if you want something even fiery, all you need to do is come down to City Council tonight at 5 p.m. As we will be talking about the ordinance for camping for those that are unhoused. And you know, I hate that term, camping, when it's not camping. This isn't some romantic, glorified situation that folks are doing. So that's the first thing. I think we need to use the language for what it is and not use a flowery term to allow us to overlook, you know, the dire needs that folks are in. So this is a big one. Public comment tonight. There will be a lot of people there. So if you want to come, there is a Zoom link. If you can't make it, please make public comment, because without your voice, right, things aren't going to change, or they may not change in the way that you want them to change, right? So for Mark, I am Marwan. This is Tipping Points and Puzzle Pieces. This is Prosecco. We'll see you